Oh yeah, can someone switch on some lights? Apparently it's switched off. Oh, hello. Suntan. Okay, let's say the bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam noten Torah. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord God, King of the universe, who gives Torah of truth and the good news of salvation to his people Israel, and to all the peoples through his Son Yeshua the Messiah our Lord. Amen. Amen. All right. Now, you see, when I was trying to study Gideon, I was getting nowhere, and I'm like, we're not going to discuss Gideon at all, are we? It's an hour in, and we've only started the life read. Okay, so, how many of you have read in Leviticus 23 that we should celebrate Hanukkah? It's not there at all. Okay? The same way, as in Leviticus 23, we don't see any instance of us celebrating Purim. Everybody in agreement with me, yes? Alright. So why then, Uncle Winston, are you talking about Hanukkah? Number one, it's starting soon. Okay, Monday night. So we are going to look at it, and I've actually got a biblical example of when Messiah was in Jerusalem at the time of Hanukkah. We miss it because of the word Hanukkah. It doesn't say Hanukkah. What does Hanukkah mean? To dedicate. So he was up in Jerusalem at the time of dedication. Right? And remember, your rabbi was there, and he didn't burn down anybody or beat anybody, so we are left to assume that why leave Galilee to come all the way up to Jerusalem to celebrate a feast? Many different views, we can look at all of those, okay? So we come up to the time of Hanukkah. We know that it's not a chag, as in a feast ordained by God. Can everybody agree? So this is what Uncle Winston is saying. If you want to celebrate it, celebrate it. If you don't, don't. This is a traditional thing. Does it have credence because Yeshua seemed to be in Jerusalem because of it? I'd say you're going to have to stop and think about it, because why would you walk for a day and a half to get to Jerusalem just so that you can go ignore a festival you could have been doing in Galilee? Alright? So we have some precedents for it. Okay? So anyway, the story of Hanukkah goes like this. There was once a mad tyrant by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes. Antiochus Epiphanes, Antiochus the Fourth. Alright? Antiochus comes in. If any of you have done the Daniel study with us, he was part of which army? Who was his general? Seleucids. Yeah, that's nice. Who are the Seleucids? They were from the Greek armies, right? When, in which time frame? Right, at the time of around 165. Okay? So in that region, just before 165 years, he gets to the peak of his excitement. Now Antiochus, how did Antiochus become the Seleucid Empire? What is the Seleucid Empire? No, right. Antiochus was actually a general that came underneath Ptolemy. Anybody here the great Ptolemies of Egypt? How many of you know that the Ptolemies were Greek? Right. Ptolemy was a man who was one of the 4 generals that came under Alexander the Great. Okay? Alexander the Great, as you know, was a man prophesied about. We see it as we break down in Daniel. He came and he took out the Persian Empire. Alright, the Medo-Persian Empire. He comes in. He's, 33 years old on his deathbed. Go and check me, I think it was around that time. And then they go, Alex, you know, your son's really small. He can't rule this vast empire. We're taking land and beating the snot out of everybody. Who are you leaving in charge? And good old Alex leaves them with a conundrum. What does he say? I leave it to the strongest. Oh, lovely. We've got 4 equally yoked generals under one great man's authority. And he says, bad luck, and see who comes on. So as far as kingdom into 4 sections. Okay? And all of a sudden, we get this guy who's under Ptolemy who gets Egypt. Fascinating, it's funny by the way, Ptolemy knew how pharaohs worked. To become pharaoh, you need the authority from the pharaoh before you. Right? So how do I do that if Alexander the Great was the pharaoh? They were originally going to bury him in Greece. He hijacks the body and he comes and he brings it down to Egypt. And he goes, no. See, I will bury the body, so therefore I am his successor. Right? He had a guy underneath him called Antiochus IV. Now Antiochus was a dear boy. He decides that there's a little bit of civil war and there's a whole bunch of push-push. And anyway, they worked the one guy out because he wanted to be the strongest, and they take and put Antiochus in the Syrian region. Okay? He comes in and he's sitting in their power, and the guys come and push him back, and Ptolemy says, no, you don't dare touch my boy. He backed me up, I'm going to back him up, and he comes up and they push the other guys back. So the guy who wasn't one of the four generals ended up with the biggest territory out of the four generals. To the point where after a whole bunch of barging and things like that, the Ptolemies and the Seleucids actually go to war, and the only thing that stops Antiochus from taking out Egypt and taking both territories, remember, knocking out the guy's offspring who actually got him started, lovely fellow, gets to the place where Rome has to intervene. Rome comes into play. They cry out to Rome and they said, we need your backing. Remember, we knew people that knew of you. Long history lesson in about 3 seconds. Comes up to a point and they send this lovely senator. And he stands over there with his lovely robe and he comes out to the field. If you know anything about Roman senators, are they generally quite buff? No, they kind of like the lap of luxury scenario. So he comes out against this war veteran Antiochus, who's kicking butt and taking them in every direction he possibly goes against. He comes up against him, Ptolemy is standing behind him, and he goes, walks out there toward Antiochus, and he says, we have a proposition for you. Okay, this is Vincent's history paraphrase version, okay? Alright? So deal with me if you don't see this in the history book. It's not there. We get over there, and this guy comes out there, and he says, alright, let's have a discussion. If you attack Egypt, right? We will declare that as an attack against Rome. Now this is the time when Rome is really starting to come up into authority and power. Alright? They've already locked up one of the Greek generals before. It was actually Antiochus' brother, who's an interesting story. He claims the throne of Antiochus III. Okay? And he comes into authority saying that he's only sitting on the throne to keep the throne warm until his brother comes out. And then once he had enough backing, he was like, not really, but anyway, that led us to the whole other expanding the kingdom thing. Okay? But anyway, Rome comes up against it and he says, if you come out, and he goes, no, let me think about this a little bit. So the senator comes out and he takes a stick and he draws a big circle around Antiochus and he says, alright, you can think about it as long as it takes you until you step out that circle. Step out that circle and you move towards Egypt, you're taking it as an act of war. Understand, if you attack them, you attack Rome. Rome will come down. My brother's just been locked up for a very long time, paying off a debt that they started to take on Rome. And this is not maybe a good career move for me. So he knows he cannot. He's not strong enough to take on the Roman Empire. Right? So he gets very grumpy and angry and all the rest of it, and he literally leaves the Ptolemy dynasty. He survives for a little bit, and he goes back home. Syria's life. But how do we get to Syria from Egypt? Through Israel. And I'm very grumpy. And you've got these Jews who keep on wanting to revolt against my Hellenistic ways. You know, they built gymnasia just around from the viewpoint of the temple. What does gymnos mean in Greek? Naked. That's a very good place to have a naked wrestling match right next to God's temple, right? And we built theaters and all types of other things, and we Hellenized our names, and we want to become more Greek, just like old Alexander tried to bring in. And if we get them to let go of their culture, then we can get them to start to worship our gods. Make sense? Hellenism is a way you civilize people and you bring them into your culture today. Think of someone who's been sitting in the Amazon, never seen a city in his life. What are you going to do? You're going to teach him the way of the world, as to civilize so that he can fit in. That's Roman. Romans adapted their stuff from Greek thinking. Yeah? I don't know. No, it actually comes from the word Greek is the word. The Greeks don't call themselves Greeks, they call themselves, they come from the country of Hellas. Okay, Greek is a transliteration of what we call Greece, but the actual Greek name is Hellas, so that's where we get Hellenism from. Okay? Again, transliteration, definitely Greek, no, it's Hellas in Greek. Okay?
It comes from Helios, which is Greek god.
They put a bust of Zeus and then they said, if you eat this, we'll know that you have knowledge yours. Okay? But if you don't, you'll kill him. Right? They kill people for circumcising their children, pushing women off sections of Temple Mount. It's a really nice little drop in the place where God is supposed to be represented. Okay? It got that bad. Anyway, Judah the Maccabee, his father Matthias, sees this. They come to a place, a little town called Modein, and then they come into the place and then they do the false conversion thing, and he's a Levite, I stand to be corrected. He was a priestly family, and then he decided, not on my watch, and him in a flash of fury manages to take out the little grouping of people that were there. And then they start this great revolt. Long story short, after many types of victories, where Judah the Maccabee, who wasn't the firstborn son of Matthias, actually comes up and they start to push back until eventually they push out Antiochus' entire army from Jerusalem and Israel, and they're able to rededicate their temple. Okay? So they get us to the point of rededication. They start cleaning out and they start putting everything back into place. How do I make something that was unclean clean? First I water it, right? I have to clean all the surfaces, I have to wipe it, I have to get rid of all the clay pots that have assumed any of that stuff in because it's porous. And then once it's clean, how do I make something clean, kadosh, holy? I anoint it and I dedicate it for God's use only. While they were doing it, they found a vial that was to light the menorah. What's a menorah in Hebrew? What's a menorah? It's a lamp. That's all it is. Yeah, well, never mind. Everybody's like, it's a menorah. It is a trick question. Yes, that's what happens when you transliterate. You see, confusion. Right. So when you bring in a menorah, which is just a lamp, okay? Now there's a difference between a menorah in Hebrew and the menorah. Okay? I have a menorah downstairs. That's a menorah. That is not the menorah. Alright? It's a lamp, it's a lamp, it's a lamp. Now in Israel, when you see at the time of Hanukkah, just quickly, you get something called a Chanukia, which is also referred to as a menorah. But it's not the menorah. Don't get into the place where you think the Jews don't know the difference between 7 branches and 9. That's a Chanukia. Okay? We get a little confused when we don't ask the question. They go, there we go. Silly Jews are completely confused and they don't understand that the menorah is a menorah. No, that's a Chanukia, only ever used on Hanukkah, but it is never been to replace the menorah. And if you walk in Jerusalem, you will see the menorah that they have made to go into the next temple. It's already there. It doesn't have 9 branches, it has 7, as God prescribed. Now, what do we know about the menorah? Talks about the 7 spirits, we'll get there. Okay? That we spoke about in Isaiah. It is made out of pure gold. Gold equals righteousness. It is one of the only pieces of furniture that is made out purely of one substance. The Ark of the Covenant, all those things have acacia wood and they're overlaid with gold. Right? But this one, pure gold, which gives us a conundrum because we don't know how they made it, because gold is soft and it tends to fall in on itself. The menorah we see in Jerusalem today has a bit of a steel structure in between, and it's overlaid with gold, because to get a menorah that size without collapsing is impossible. Well,
7 prophetic feasts.
okay, yeah, that makes those rings. I'm not going to go into that. I do that on Sundays. Don't be crazy. But we also know that how do I light the menorah? The menorah? Okay, let me rephrase that. Physically, with does it have a candle holder on the top? Does it look like this? Modern day, yes. Biblically, no. It had a little bowl with a light. You would pour in oil, and it would have a little wick. Those wicks were supposed to be leaning towards the center. So I need oil. What oil do we use? Only the extra virgin stuff, the first pressing. Olives are pressed 3 times. Each time we press it, we get a lower grade oil. Now, you normally only use the last press to burn. Not in God's house. You use the first press. Okay? So you take the best of the best. And you would light it. And how much oil did they find? Only enough to light the menorah for 1 day. And that's when we go out of the book of Maccabees, and now we go into Talmudic and missionary writings. Now they said a miracle happened, that one vial lasted 8 days, which is how long it took to get the next pressing. Okay? Now let's leave that as what it is. Tradition. We don't know for sure. I'm not going to be focusing on that. I want to show you what Mashiach maybe, how he was represented at the time of Hanukkah. Okay, are you guys alright with that? Okay. So this is our symbol that God is dwelling in His house. Is that biblical? How? The Ark of the Covenant is nothing to do with the menorah. No, it doesn't. No, what is the light of the world? Where was the ark? Where was the light coming from the ark? That was closed behind the parquet. How can you see the light coming from the Ark of the Covenant? You can't. It's impossible. So what light was there? The Shekinah, the very presence of God that was dwelling over, that showed us that God was there. Just like He walked before them with light. When He settled on the tent, they said there was great light, and they knew He was dwelling in there. This was just a little representation to remind us that the Shekinah is here. So if the Shekinah is here, it tells us what? Emmanuel. What's Emmanuel mean? God is with us. God with us. Is there still light? Absolutely. His Spirit, His righteousness is here with us. How do we know that? That was placed in His house. Okay, the tent. And that had 3 different names, but the temple one was called the house in missionary writings. His house. The lights are on someone's home. Okay? Now, go with me to John chapter 10 quickly. Light bulb. Light bulb. John 10 verses 22, if I wrote it down right. Okay, so we looking at John 22, 23, the backdrop to John 10, verses 22 and 23, was that if you look at the narrative behind, it was time of tabernacles before that, and they were wanting to kill him in Jerusalem. So now we find Yeshua in Jerusalem. Then came Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication, in Jerusalem. It was winter, and Yeshua was walking around inside the temple area in Shlomo's colonnade. That's a section on the side. Okay? So we sit in this place that is a representation of Emmanuel in his house, and he makes a point of visiting him at the time of dedication. Now, there's an interesting thing in the timeline. When was Yeshua born? When do we believe, if we do our calculations correct? Alright, this will give us which feast? The time of Sukkot, right? So when you go to Jerusalem, when you sit in Jerusalem today, Christmas carols, like crazy at the time of Sukkot. It's a little ironic, but they're praising Yeshua as they know how at the time he was born. Okay, so we know that at the time of Sukkot, and what does Sukkot mean? Tabernacle. He tabernacled with us, and that will give us again the idea of Emmanuel. He dwells with us. Right. So he was born at the time, we believe, and if we backtrack, and there was a very interesting study a lady did by the time of looking at gestation periods and ovulation cycles, and I'm going to do, I don't know much about that, but she went into a whole bunch of information. But simply, if we can look at the time of conception would give us not Pesach. At the time of Hanukkah.
Okay, that's
Conception.
Possibly 6 months earlier from that.
Yes. Right? They used John the Baptist and Zechariah and all the rest of them to come in. Alright? So, if he was conceived at the time of dedication, what else do we know about dedication according to Scripture? You were dedicated on the 8th day if you were a boy. And what happened? Snip, snip. You got circumcised. Yeah. Good. Who said breast? We could teach you Hebrew, huh? We're listening to the Jews too much. The Jews say it's like when they say Shabbos. Shabbos. Shabbos and Talis doesn't exist. Shabbat, Talit, Brit. Brit is covenant. It's not called a bris. Only in South Africa is called a bris. I had an Israeli Hebrew teacher who used to drive her absolutely nuts. You must say Shabbos. Shabbos.
No Shabbat.
לא שבת, זה לא שבת בירושלים, בארץ. Roughly translated, there's no Shabbos in Israel, in Jerusalem. That's Shabbat Shalom. So, just in case you run into a Jew who's from Israel, Brit. Okay, which means covenant. Right? The sign of the covenant. You cut a covenant. Sealed into the flesh according to the covenant made with Abraham. And as you well know, every covenant was formed because of Abraham's covenant and built on the foundation thereof. Okay? So we get up to the time of dedication on the 8th day. How long do we celebrate Hanukkah for? 8 days. Interesting idea. The time that he came to dwell with us, the spirit of Elohim was upon him. The time the seven spirits were lit. The menorah is inside the house and dwelling in Yerushalayim. Okay? At the time of his dedication, and it's kind of interesting the way this plays out. If you take, again, when was he taken up into the temple according to Luke 2? How long do we wait for a lady to deal with her purification? The 40th day, right? So we go 40 days after the time of conception. This is an interesting little movie. We come up to a guy, look to, what was the guy's name again? There was a godly man. Sorry, I'm aggressive. I've got, eh? Yes, the whole man. Yes, the guy who said, God told him he wouldn't die without seeing, yeah, I think so. Yes. I'm specifically looking. Was it Shimon? I think it's Luke too. So, okay, Shimon, which needs to hear, right? Shimon comes in on the 40th day after the time of the purification, after he'd been set up, and he says what? Okay, what is he going to do? He is our Savior, Yeshua, our salvation. Yeshua is actually what he said in the Hebrew. Yeah. So, he comes in at the time of dedication, tabernacled among us to give us the same picture of who he was and what's going on. When they dedicated the temple, reminding them that it was supposed to be God's presence dwelling with us, reminding us that the seven spirits is what is supposed to be represented here. Reminding us again, and there's an interesting little play here when you do Revelations. Antiochus Epiphanes is a foreshadow of the Antichrist. He does the same thing. It's the picture of something that is going to come again. So when Yeshua comes again and he takes on the Antichrist, right? We see the same battle between Antiochus again and coming in. And where does he first go? Into? In Antimacalos, and where does he go? To the Golden Gate and into where? Into the temple, right? Yes, no? Yes. So why the temple first? What's he going to do to a place that's unclean? It's a very interesting idea. That if, as it says, that they will do the abomination that causes desolation. It says at the time, at the end, when you see the abomination that causes desolation, which is what we understand Antiochus did by slaughtering a pig of the altar and putting a bust of Zeus inside the Holy of Holies, that the people should flee. The third temple that is coming will also be desecrated. And it will take someone, and it's an interesting thing. Where do we get the term Maccabee? It's not his surname. Remember, he came from a Levitical family. It was a Tochet, if I remember correctly. Comes from two words. One that literally means the hammer. Judah the hammer. Not to be taken lightly. But there's also another idea. That Maccabee could be also transliterated or brought into Mi Kamo Cha. Mi Kamo Cha is something you see time and time again when they refer to God and they say, who is like you? Yehuda Mi Kamo Cha. Someone from the tribe of Judah who is like you. That's an interesting play. But anyway, we see Yeshua coming in at the time, taking on the powers of evil, rededicating his house, establishing the house, establishing the Shekinah, bringing back the full understanding that Emmanuel is here, bringing in the rededication and the fullness of the temple. And remember the context of which we started to read in John 10. They are having a discussion of whether or not he's Mashiach. He's standing there amongst the people that should be rededicating themselves to God. But instead are more in bed with the Romans. Antiochus put in a high priest named Jason. Jason was not his Hebrew name, as you well get. You don't get Jason in the Hebrew. It was a Hellenized version of Yochanan, who was more concerned about bringing in revenue and putting in a priest so that Antiochus would be lifted up. Instead of, which led them to this great debacle. where now you're going to have an interesting play about a person or a priest who will come and reign and establish his house. Again,
But also the priest that was put in was not of the right house.
that only came after Onias was killed. Jason was. But it came 1 or 2 generations where Jason got booted out by someone else who said he could do a better job. Right? But after that, the Levitical order and the sons of Aaron went hayward. They went completely hayward from that point on. Okay? So, a lot of people get stuck with Hanukkah turning into Christmaka. If I hear you using that term, I would be. To get us to the point where we don't get presents on 1 day, we get presents for 8 days. Yay. Therefore, I won't be in trouble with my children because they get 8 as much presents.
You'll pull
No.
wallets.
No. Listen carefully. If you are going to remember this time as maybe Purim, if you are, remember, it was all about him going with us. Oh, one more. Him who was the light of the world, who you were supposed to bring a light lit by him. And there's an interesting thing on the way we light the menorah, the way we light the Chanukah, the center beam is called the what? The Shamash, which means what? Right? The servant candle. The servant candle is the one who gets lit first. When you look at the menorah, all the wicks who came from the Levitical clothes were facing inward towards the light. He is the anointed one, Mashiach, who anointed him with oil. The problem was the oil. God was always going to bring the flame. He was always going to bring the Shekinah. And the anointed one, who was pure righteousness, with the Spirit of God dwelling upon him, the center being was called the Spirit of Elohim. And if he comes in, every single light we have there has to come with being lit by Yeshua and the Ruach HaKodesh himself. So that you can represent your Father. Although this is historical, I believe it is worth a mention that Yeshua walked all the way from Galilee to Jerusalem after they told him they were going to kill him, not a couple of months before. He never walked around and goes, "What are you guys doing? This is not a chag." He sat there listening carefully to if they understood what dedication of the temple was all about. He sat there listening carefully to ask the question, "Do you understand the light of the world?" He sat there carefully looking for their light, looking for the Spirit to dwell with them. And he was dwelling with them and they missed him. What is the point of rededicating a temple if you do not have a Shekinah? Guys, your house is just a house, it's just a house if you don't have God in it.
House has been decent.
This area is nothing. It's just a building. But when we change it into a place, Knesset, a house of gathering, when we turn it into a synagogue, a place of assembly, when we turn it to the place that it's focused, purpose here, the sole purpose of this place is gathered to study God's word so that we can better live it out. And all of a sudden, this whole area takes on a completely different thing. We come here to study to become like Him. I showed you in the scripture, he decided to walk all the way from Galilee after having death threats to come down, to sit in his father's house and says, "This is a picture of me, Emmanuel, God dwelling with you." This came from a picture of Sukkah, to dwell. That Sukkah was a picture of the tabernacle, with the Shekinah dwelling. Don't get so caught up in this time where we overlook this little gem of history and become so focused on the way the Jews might celebrate it, or some Hebraic roots people might celebrate it. If it's about the presence, don't do it. But if God did not step in and give them a miraculous victory, remember, the cleansing of the temple happened in 165 BC. When was Yeshua coming? We think around 165 years. God was already preparing them there. If they never had a temple, how could Yeshua walk in the temple? How long did it take to build that temple? And did Yeshua not say, tear this temple down and I will raise it up in 3 days? Whose temple are we part of? He is the temple. He has the spirits. He's part of Elohim. We know that they are Echad. We know that the Spirit of God of Elohim was upon him. We know that he was completely righteous. We know that he was the light of the world. And we know he wanted to dwell, and he still wants to dwell with us. Take some time and think carefully about what he was trying to tell you. This is a traditional thing, but Yeshua made a point of it. If I am to be like my rabbi and I stop and I consider a fig tree, about whether a fig tree is about to bloom, what fruit does it taste, what's the smell by the fig tree, surely then I also have to take a look at some of the things that he did and he said, and I have to study that to be able to understand his heart. Now, like I said to you before, this is a historical, accurate event. The miracle, tradition, that's okay. Whether they did or whether they didn't, we don't know. But what I do know is, Yeshua was there at that time. He sat in the house on Solomon's porticos, on Temple Mount at that time, risking his life again. Just to go, you're looking to celebrate dedication to God, but you don't. You're looking for Emmanuel, but you don't see me. You're looking for the Spirit of Elohim. When I tell you what's on you, you want to kill me. You see, your perception on how God does things can be the very thing that makes you miss Him.
Anything to do with the altar stones that were given away because they didn't have a prompted to actually tell them how they should use them, or they, so that they used them.
In which part?
No. Well, the fact that the old altar stones were buried
Yeah.
in the same area probably as Yeshua was there. There must have been there.
Well, there always is. I mean, when you look at when the altar stones are actually put into place, you're actually looking at your rule from the records of Ezra, and that the system literally started the whole dedication of the temple started with those altar stones. And those were the altar stones, again, that were probably broken down and used again in Herod's temple, when he had to flatten everything and rebuild it up again. But at the same time, when they say they probably know more or less where that was, to me, when you look at those altar stones, it really just starts to talk about we cannot get the house going again without an offering. With the Maccabees, we see something different. We see we cannot get the house going again unless the menorah is lit. It's all about Ishikina. When Ezra and them were coming back into the land, they had the guilt and all the stuff. So when they finished that house, they were worrying about, we have done wrong, our ancestors have done wrong. Daniel, we were all talking about it, and they longed for the place. But to go into direct relationship with them, we have to deal with our sin. They just came out of Babylon. Here they were oppressed. They were outlawed. They were killed because they wanted to follow God. And then they said, it's all about this shit. So it's a slightly different picture, but I think they talk about the house in the same way. Okay? Alright, any questions so far?
From my point of view, I want to ask, if you just celebrated one day. It's not some sure about the whole
Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. Look guys, traditionally we celebrate, they celebrated, we celebrated the 8 days. My feeling is if it was good enough for you, sure it's good enough for me. But obviously, worrying more about the dedication and the sukkah and the manual than worrying about the 50 bajillion presents and my kids running around not knowing the difference. Alright? If you just want to sit down as with your family and you just want to recount the story, bring in John 10 and remind them what it took, what it cost, how many wars had to be fought just so that they could have attainment in Yeshua's time, just so that we could understand, just so that he could talk about all the stuff. And he says, look at this temple carefully, if not one stone will be left upon another. It's a big symbol. The menorah is a big symbol. This is about God. This is not much trying to tell you the temple is not important. God said it was. The menorah comes from God. Dedication and what they were saying of risking life and limb just so they could have one day with God in that house. A lot of us risk getting out of bed on a Saturday morning, and it's a struggle. If you had to go to war, or if they said they would kill your children in front of you because you follow God's way, understand what these guys were saying. They risked their lives, their families' lives, they risked everything because they were zealous for God. If God did not step in, you might have been celebrating a very different version of Scripture today. Okay? All happy? Alright, so next week we'll fellowship, and then we'll just chat about Dr. Adele's place for the weekend after, if you guys are happy with that. Prayer time is happy time. Come on, stand up, let's pray. Everybody's asleep. Alright, let's bow our heads. Father, we just want to thank you. Thank you for your word, Lord Father. Father, we pray that you would just continue to guide us and lead us, Lord Father, and as we enter into the season and remember the lives that were risked, Lord Father, and the statement they made for their faith. Father, when we remember that this is a season of rededication, a time when they long so badly just to have you dwell among them, Father, that they risked their lives and their children's lives and they went to war for years, just so that they could have that house, just so that they could have that Shekinah, just so that they could light that menorah. Our, we pray that you would be fervent, fervent for your ways, fervent for your Torah, fervent to establish your house, Lord Father. And I pray that we don't let the world get stuck in our way, so that when you are standing in our midst, when you are revealing what you need to reveal, Father, that we don't look at it and go, he's not really here. Abba, I pray that you would just take this time in this season, Lord Father, and that you would speak to each and every one of us, those that are here and those that are not here. And Father, and I pray that you would convict them. I pray that you would build them. I pray that you would help them get their houses in order, Father, that you have asked us to. Father, I pray that you would bring us into complete submission to you, Father, that our houses would mimic the order and the respect and the love that you give. Father, that we go away, Lord Father, and we come back in this, over this period, I pray, Lord Father, that you would just reveal to each and every one of us our calling, impress in our hearts, so that we may grow and better reflect you in everything, Father. Abba, we pray for Jess and Joy tomorrow as they enter into covenant with Father, as they get married. Father, I pray that everything would go smooth, that nerves would be settled. Father, that you would just be there and start the process, Lord Father, of knitting them together so that they may truly become a couple. Father, I pray that you would be with bride and groom and families. Father, and I pray that you also be with me. And we be able to just rejoice together, Lord Father, in the right way. To be able to give you glory and show those who don't know you what marriage is all about. And we just lift you up. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen.